Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is getting some pushback for supporting Senator Mitch McConnell's plan to let governments go bankrupt. So now this is amid the coronavirus pandemic, and Mitch McConnell, when he was talking to radio host Hugh Hewitt, said, "You know what? I'd be okay if the states went bankrupt. Quote, I would certainly be in favor of allowing states to use the bankruptcy route. It saves some cities, and there's no good reason for it not to be available." Now, this is in response, of course, to states showing a gigantic loss of revenue. Why? It's because right now we have stay-at-home orders, which means people can't work. They can't really pay taxes, sales taxes, and other things that come in. And so if you're not getting tax revenue, then you're really not giving revenue, but you're spending money to combat coronavirus. Yeah, you're going to go bankrupt, and you're going to need a bailout. And Mitch McConnell says, no bailouts, no more bailouts. We're going to bail out corporations, but we're not going to bail out the states. So understand the federal government is supposed to, in times of crisis, which we have a crisis, a pandemic, which is not the same as like, oh, business as usual. And, oh, that state's been really irresponsible, like Kansas, for example. And now, they've had to cut, since they cut taxes for the rich so much that they weren't getting enough revenue to properly fund their schools. They were funding them below constitutional limits. Well, and they couldn't afford to do that, right? So they were in a little bit of a fiscal problem, right? And asking for a bailout. Well, the government can understandably say, no, we're not going to bail you out. Why don't you just raise taxes on your wealthy? Or, cut spending somewhere else, because you literally cannot cut more spending out of education, which I think is a terrible thing to do anyway. So it's not that situation. It's a situation where you're trying to prevent the spread of a very highly contagious virus that targets people who, and targets people's lungs. It's a respiratory disease, and it kills a lot of people, especially those over age 65 and people with underlying conditions. And look, it can even kill young, seemingly healthy people as well. And so this is a dangerous virus. And so you want people to stay home. And the states have done the responsible thing. And now they're getting punished by the federal government not stepping up to help them. And so that's a big, big problem, right? So now notice, again, that Mitch McConnell says, for the states, let them fail. But for the corporations, we have to save our beloved corporations. We must bail them out with taxpayer money. Again, that's exactly what they did. There was a $2 trillion stimulus bill. Part of that bill was a bailout fund for large corporations that could be leveraged about 10 times, leading to trillions of dollars in possible grants for these corporations. And we don't know what corporations are actually getting the bailout money. For one, because there's lack of transparency. And for two, we're not going to know for quite some time who got the bailout and how much. Problems, big problems, right? But that's what Mitch McConnell signed off on. And he's like, yes, bail out the corporations. So now Nikki Haley comes in, and this is where she comes in on a social media post, and she says, states should always plan for a rainy day, just like any business. I disagree that states should take federal money or be bailed out. This will lead to taxpayers paying for mismanagement or poorly run states. States need to tighten up, make some cuts, and manage. Right. Yes, just like any business. Oh, wait, states aren't businesses. I mean, the biggest piece of evidence I have against states being businesses is the fact that Mitch McConnell hasn't bailed them out. Literally doing the opposite of what he's done for every other business. Come on, man. Look, this is absurd on its face. Corporations did get billions of dollars worth of bailouts. And that's on top of gigantic tax cuts. And yet nobody is telling them, the corporations, to tighten up. They tell small businesses, hey, look, we set up a bailout fund for you, but we're out of money now, and we're not really going to fund it anymore. I mean, we're working on something, maybe, but generally, we're really not going to bail anybody out at this point because my donors, they already got theirs. So sad day for you. Turns out some companies, by the way, big corporations, got some of that bailout money meant for small businesses, for actual small businesses, like Ruth Chris Steakhouse, for example. Yeah, big problem, right? But okay, these corporations, they did not plan for a rainy day. You know what they did? As we've reported here in the show before, they spent billions of dollars buying back their own stocks. Oh, but rainy day, rainy day. In the states should go bankrupt. Okay, projection, right? So here's the other thing. Nikki Haley is not really one to talk about bailouts. Her state of South Carolina is one of the biggest beneficiaries of federal funding, as it receives an average of just over $5,000 in federal aid per resident. That is the 12th highest per capita amount of America's 50 states. So, spare me on that. It's ridiculous. She got, of course, savaged on Twitter with people pointing out that businesses did get bailout and individuals did get money, stimulus money, that $1,200 check. But, firefighters and police officers, people who are essential, who are still working, well, they're not getting bailed out. These are the people that are going to end up losing their jobs when the states go bankrupt because they don't have money to keep those essential services flowing. And so Ben Yellen basically says that and says, you're a ghoul. Absolutely right. Michael Tay-Sweeney says, you already bailed out Wall Street. Why not leave the teachers and firefighters twisting in the wind? Exactly. Every billionaire is a policy failure. I love that. Saying, so do you disagree with giving money to businesses right now, as the president and Senate are doing? Should they have saved for this rainy day? Should they have, gotten up their bootstraps? Tom T says, preach, Nikki. This taxpayer here would only like to pay for the mismanagement of poorly run corporations that will spend their money on executive bonuses. Those paramedics, firefighters, and state services have had it too easy. Doug Bernstein points out, South Carolina actually receives $7.87 back from Washington for every $1 its citizens pay in federal taxes. So who's the welfare queens, right? Who are the ones getting bailed out all the time? Oh, right. It's the terrible politicians in South Carolina. Another user points out that this is why Republicans should never be put in charge of anything ever again, and says that governments are not businesses, nor should they be run like businesses, simply because they're not. And if you're going around saying, no, government's a business, should be run like a business, you're an idiot. You have no idea how a state and a business is supposed to run. Insane. There was somebody, by the way, who supported Nikki Haley. I'm assuming somebody is conservative. That says, wow, I totally cannot believe I ever supported you and thought you would be a good president one day. Wow. And then, again, one more person here. Molly Knight says, you failed to plan for a literal rainy day, and we're happy to take the federal government's money. It's true. It's always about hypocrisy with these Republicans. Big federal money for me in my state, but not for you. You should be more responsible. Bootstraps. All right, Nikki Haley, where's your bootstraps? Oh, right. There are different rules for her because she's a Republican, because she's in power. Big business. Look, big business always gets a bailout. And you know why? It's because they write the checks. Regular people, however, who rely on state unemployment benefits, those are going to run out. Now, there's a federal benefit of $600, right? But there are also state benefits. Those state benefits will run out because they're funded by the states. Not only that, but you have food stamps administered by, the federal government. So I believe they'll still have food stamps, but you'll have, any program that is administered and funded mainly by the state is going to go away. That's going to stop if the state goes bankrupt. That's a problem. And understand, though, that there's a reason for this. There's a reason that Mitch McConnell is fine with having the states go bankrupt. Would rather have them go bankrupt. It's because he wants the states to get to open up before they were ready to open up. He wants those states to open up so that people can get back to work, and he can kick all those people off of unemployment benefits. And that's it. So now you have a situation where you have two choices. You get back to work, or, you get your people back to work by opening up the state and endangering them, or you go bankrupt, which also will cause thousands, tens of thousands of people to possibly go hungry. That's the situation that they have set up now, that the Republicans, they're tired of this. They want people to go back to work, to make money for their donors, and also to kick people off of government benefits because we don't want them on there for too long. Not long enough, certainly, to wait, to wait this entire thing out. It's more social Darwinism, and it's basically setting up the Hunger Games. And here's people like Nikki Haley cheering it on. Absolutely gross. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.